my first stint at HSBC, I was there for 7 years, and then I left.
You know, this is a good time. Speaking of HSBC, this is actually, I want to see if our people remember these guys. Is that going to focus?
I don't think so.
Maybe that'll do it.
Yeah.
Strive to Arrive, San Juan, March 13th through the 16th, year 2003. So this is a relic. This is a, what they used to do is, and then this guy here, my daughter got a hold of this one, and she put a Band-Aid on him, and then she ripped off the tag, and I told her that was my collectible. It's from my days back at the corporate job. But this one was it Montreal or Toronto?
Vancouver,
somewhere in Canada, some trip. But back in the day, they used to do trips for their top performers when it came to moving delinquency and, being a rock star collector. They take a big company trip to somewhere in the world. I know they did Canada,
Cancun once.
Like the Caribbean a few times, I think, and then San Juan, and I don't remember.
I never won on one.
I never won one of those either. I wasn't in one place long enough to be able to take advantage of that. So
it was one of those things that I'd have a good month, and then the trip incentive would come up, and then I'd have a horrible month. It never failed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, go enjoy yourself. I'll be back here.
Yeah, I started there in the year 2000, I believe, and then you came in shortly after.
Yes,
that time.
Not too long after you.
Mm-hmm. And then I think I got a referral bonus for getting you in there, if I remember right.
You did.
And then my path was similar, but not the same, because we were both in collections for a little while. Did you ever wind up in loss mitigation? Or what was your last? Because they had them by departments, and it was like your early 30-day delinquency, your mid-range 60 to 90, and then like 90 plus was loss mitigation. And then you either went to bankruptcy or foreclosure or like support.
Yeah, so I did early stage, mid range, and 60 to 90.
Mm-hmm.
I never went into the foreclosure area.
Right.
While I was there, those first 3 years. By the end of my third year, I had moved on. I changed departments, went up to the underwriting.
And were you ever an underwriter, or you went straight to BVF?
Straight to BVF.
Okay.
BVF was basically borrower verification is what we called it.
Yep.
It was basically a deeper dive that the underwriters, because the underwriters had a finite amount of time.
I was an underwriter, and they just told us circle the yes box.
Yeah,
that's all we did. If the numbers were there, we checked our boxes, we went through it, we calculated. If it worked, it worked. If it was a problem, it went to our manager, and he either fixed it or it went to the VP, and then it got fixed. So we were basically just glorified document checkers at that point.
If it fit the box, it went. It's good.
Yeah.
And our team came in, even though something might still fit the box, something flagged it that we would do a deeper dive.
I think when I was an underwriter, that might have been one of my favorite. I think that was my favorite job. I really liked that job.
I was always envious of the road underwriters, because all of you guys would head out on Sunday night, fly somewhere, stay the entire week, and then fly home on Friday.
And this is all because computers weren't a thing yet.
Exactly.
Computers were totally, then we had computers, but all the files were in, these double phone book thick, legal size loan files that anybody in the industry knows what I'm talking about, but we didn't underwrite on computers yet. And when I was there during that time, they started to push this new system for underwriting on the computer, and everybody was like, I can't do this. I work faster on paper. And now looking back, I'm like, man, they used to fly an army of underwriters around the country, spending God knows how much money on airfare and hotels and food and per diem and all the expenses that comes along with that. And there were hundreds of them. And that was like an army flying around, like just a total production.
Plus all the contractors you'd bring in as well.
Yeah. It's the money. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And now, like, people will run the other way if they see a paper loan file.
Yeah.
It has to be on the computer. It's not going to get done. And yeah, that was my favorite. We had a great team there. Household as a company. During the time I was there, I feel like it was just an awesome company. I'm so fortunate to have been able to start off there in that career. You know, I didn't know anything when I started either. My job before that, I was working at Eckerd Drug, and then I didn't have that job anymore, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, what am I doing here? And I was in college, I was taking classes, and I just didn't have any sort of direction. And my dad handed me a job fair ad from a newspaper, and they were having a job fair at a hotel in Brandon. And this is when they had relocated from Illinois
Chicago,
to Brandon. Or they opened the Regency building, and they were trying to fill it. And so I went for an interview at the job fair on site right there. And then I went to Harbor Island to get processed. And then I started my first day at the Grand Regency.
Oh, okay.
And only like half of one floor was built out. And then the other 2 floors were completely wide open. They didn't even have cubicles in them yet.
Wow.
And Scott Mowry interviewed me.
Yeah.
Rest his soul. Yep. I just, learned a little while ago that he had passed, and I feel terrible about that. That's crazy. He was such a good boss and leader.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, I liked him. He was really great. And he interviewed me, and first collection team on the floor in Florida. And I didn't know I didn't have any idea. They sent you through however many weeks of training, and then throw you on the phone. And I just took off, and the rest is history.
Yep.
And stayed in the industry and been there for 23 years now.
Yeah. Same here. Because I met you through your now wife. Because I managed her at where I worked, and then I remember you came in one day. You guys weren't even together. You guys were just friends.
Yeah,
from what I recall.
Yeah, I don't even know if I couldn't even say I was friends with her at that point because I barely knew who she was at that time.
And you said you had started this job, and I was like, hey, just send me some information on it. You did. I sent in my application. They called me. Quick interview, because they were just trying to bring bodies in, I think, just to try to fill in what their needs.
Yeah.
And then it went from there. Started from this, because I was in an industry that I really didn't want to be in. And
I can say what it was.
I was in the food service industry. I was
My wife tells me, I told her you were coming on the show, and she's like, she laughs. She's like, what's funny is that I have a very different Jonathan in my mind than you have in your mind. She's like, it's like we know 2 different people, because I remember Jonathan in an apron and being our boss and like running us and telling us kids what to do. Because kids, you were only 3-4 years apart.
20.
Yeah, it's not like
20. I wasn't that much older than them.
Yeah, I think I'm a year older than her, and so I think you're maybe 2 years on her. And she felt like you were the boss.
I was in that industry from high school. I started my junior year in high school just to have a job.
Yeah,
and I stayed through it. Things at home kept me at that job because my mom was getting sick. Her initial stages of her illness, so I stayed there. And after I graduated high school, worked some more. I was progressing nicely. The company wanted me to manage my own store out in Winter Haven, which I was like, I live in Brandon. I'm not driving out to Winter Haven every single day.
That kind of work is grueling. Retail work and food service work is just like, it's soul sucking.
Yeah, and no offense to your wife at that point or anybody of that age. I was like, I don't want to work with a whole bunch of 16-year-olds anymore. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, your success is totally dependent on the 16-year-old high school kids.
Exactly. But I learned a lot there. Learned a lot about responsibility management, which served me well as I moved on when I changed careers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, being at Household was really, really great because they had such a good culture. And I haven't been corporate in many, many years, but on the way out of corporate, I did a stint at Chase, and it ain't the same. It's not the same kind of culture, promote from within type mentality. It's very, my take on it personally is it's very cold, very just nobody knows each other, and it's totally not the same. Household had something really special going on.
And that was part of the reason why when I decided to make the career, I didn't want to just jump to somewhere else. I didn't want that feeling of just, okay, I got starting over here.
Yeah, like you said, your second set of marching orders, your pink slips, and then through no fault of your own.
No, it's just industries, things that we can't
This
control.
job's not here anymore. There's nothing you can do about it. And yeah, I definitely felt that too, because I saw, I had already gotten out of HSBC before they started to slide. Because I had jumped out and become a realtor during that time, and I left them. And then when I went back, I did the second stint there too. Went back after the market had blown up, and now I was in the 9-month plus collection bucket. And it was just chaos at that time because HSBC was in charge now, and they really changed the culture because it's not independent anymore. It's not household anymore. It's HSBC being ran from London and from Hong Kong and from, worldwide. So a completely different feeling that was there. And I didn't want to. And then I went to another corporate job after that, and that was chaos as well at Quantum. And completely like, how do you guys keep the lights on here? Like, how does this thing even work?
That was interesting.
And, and both of those, all three of those companies, eventually, they sent everybody packing. And that was my decision too. It's like, I've been around so long in this industry. What do I have to lose by going out on my own and doing it on my own? At least I can control like what comes in and what I focus on and what I do, and nobody else is really over the top of me to fire me.
Yep, that was my catalyst.